Tragically, I tried to record this audio once and it recorded on the wrong microphone. I bought a new headset, so it has a microphone with it, which is not the one I want to use. I want to use my nice Blue Yeti one. But anywho, it's the second day of the program, and I started out with changing something that was already in the program. So today was not supposed to have any snatches, but I added a snatch variation in, the hang no foot snatch, because in the next workout I had no hook, no feet, 2+1, and the +1 was with this hang no foot snatch. And I decided to split that complex up and add the volume out on this day. I ended up going a bit heavier than what was prescribed potentially, but I was feeling good and I figured it was good to push up a little bit. It ended up making this workout, not this exercise in particular, but just a combination of all of the exercises made this workout a very long one, and you'll see it start to get progressively darker outside. I took a lot of time in between sets as well, or in between exercises I should say. I actually went pretty quick between sets, just between exercises. I took quite a bit of time for a couple different reasons. One, it was super hot, and so just trying to make sure I don't get too destroyed by the heat. But it was also what was the other? I lost my train of thought. Oh, I was also getting like a crazy low back pump like in any exercise I did. So I was trying to just lay on the floor, like right where I'm standing for my lifts. I would just put a towel down and lay on that towel and just let my low back just kind of dissipate. And that's something that's kind of always happened, and it just kind of randomly will start and stop, and it's never something that's like painful, but it's something that will just happen, and it's just kind of annoying. But it might just be a good sign that my low back is getting some work, and it'll hopefully support my hips and whatnot, because that is something, especially on the right side, where I was having a little bit of discomfort in a lot of like squatting movements, or at least like after the squatting movements. It's more of like my IT band and stuff. So there I hit 100. I was pretty happy about that, so I took a jump up to 105. I was quite happy about this as well. It's kind of makes sense that this would go well on this particular day because of the fact that I did hang power snatches the previous 2 days, or the previous day, so it kind of makes sense that it would feel good as well. Then had some hang power clean and jerk with 2 pause jerks. These went pretty well. You see it started to get dark outside, and that light, that bug light up there, just starts destroying bugs. So eventually I closed the shed door and take that light off, just because the bugs were just kamikazing into that at an alarmingly high rate, to where it was almost distracting, the noise, but I didn't want it to like have a failure, the actual device, because it was getting so many bugs attracted to it. But these were pretty straightforward. I still don't like hang power cleans. They feel so awkward, and I'm trying different things to make it feel less awkward, but I just feel like I just can't get enough oomph on it. But I suppose that's why it's a good movement, because it is kind of a limiter with that. I pushed up to 100 from here, and then after doing this 1+2, I went to 111 to 120, and then I tried to do 130. I missed the power clean, but then came back without straps and did a full clean plus the 2 jerks. So far, these first couple days of the app have been really nice, because I've had really light strength work, which has been kind of aiding into the recovery of the hip and the IT band. And it's been kind of nice to have the accessory work as well. I'm trying to force myself to do close to what's on there. I do make adjustments to do things for my hip. Like you'll see, I think like my last set of front squats, I had a little hip circle on, and I don't think you can see you might be able to get a glimpse of it if I'm moving around during my lift enough, but basically like where my butt is right now on that shelf behind it, there's a pink hip circle band, and it's pretty light resistance, which is kind of nice for a lot of just light hip work, which is kind of what I need right now. And that 120 felt good, so I went up to 130. There it is. You can see a little glimpse of it back there. But I tried to put it on for my last set of squats, and it felt weird. I didn't really feel like I got any sort of like special activation or like kinesthetic awareness from having that on, so I probably won't do it again. But it is nice if I'm doing like a hip thruster and just like squeezing my glutes, I could have that hip band on and get a really nice kind of hip pump as well, which is nice. I did these without wrist wraps, which is probably a mistake, because it made it feel a little bit more difficult holding it above my head. I was quite happy with how the jerks and everything felt, but especially I think it was like my left wrist there just wasn't in a perfect spot, so it just felt kind of weird holding it. Not very the most pain-free thing, but nothing that was injurious in any sort of way. Then had some clean pulls, These were pretty easy, just at 130. My focus with pulls when I am at least in the initial phases of this program is to get more height on the bar, more upper back and trap development. Because God knows I don't need any more deadlift strength. So if I'm just doing kind of like a Lasha type pull, then I am going to be focusing more on the actual mechanics of the pull and also just treating it like a speed pull, which isn't bad, but I just need that strength of that upper back. And so I'm trying to get more of that shrug in, which is I find a bit harder to do on clean pulls than on snatch pulls, but it's probably just because the range of motion is just shorter because the bar is just further away. I don't know. But yeah, 130, pretty easy stuff. It's kind of nice to have it be my last working set with the cleans and then just to be able to go right into that. Don't have to worry about doing warm-up sets when it's just 130. Then had some front squat doubles, or quadruples I should say. The other day was doubles. These were sets of 4. So I did a set of 4 with the bar. Maybe it was more, I don't know, I lost count. I don't really count while I'm talking. I count while I'm lifting, but not while I'm talking. That's a little too much for my small brain to be able to do all together. Did 61 there and then went up to 102. All the working sets were at 102, and it was a 4 sets of 4. So you'll see on the last set where I have the hip circle on as a bit of an experiment. It's kind of nice to have like a light weight like this where I'm not worried about, you know, failing it or getting stuck with it or being in a weird position, so I can kind of try a weird thing like that. I can also mess around with how I'm balancing myself going down, pushing my knees out more, pointing my toes out more. It's like messing around with different things, so it's kind of nice for that kind of like technical experimentation that you can do with lighter weights and not really be punished by just, you know, failing a weight or whatever. And here is the set of 4 with it. Honestly, just felt weird to have it on. I didn't feel like I was really pushing out too hard on it, and it wasn't really like fighting against any sort of like natural urge, but also didn't really feel my glutes any more in particular. I then had 2 more movements after this. As you see, it's quite a long workout. I did everything. I was out in the shed for several hours doing all of this, but just some pressing, a set of 6 here, 61, then went up to 70 for 2 sets of 6, and then ended with some undergrip rows or underhand rows. I think they call them supine rows, but I just call them undergrip or underhand rows because that makes more intuitive sense. I guess supine is probably the more exercise physiological way to say it, but I'm a gym teacher. I don't need to have fancy terms like that. It's kind of nice in the first couple days of the program where they've had some pressing stuff in, I've noticed. I guess it's because it's a hypertrophy phase. It's nice to have some of those movements in just because pressing is a little bit easier than push pressing, but I'm sure it will transition to doing that because when I've done shorter blocks on the AI, it's given me tons and tons of push presses. So I'd imagine that as the weights get heavier, as you start to push the strength more, it'll start to kind of transition to more push press versus strict press. But it's kind of nice. You can always kind of opt to do strict press instead. I think it's usually one of the variations, but I don't know if it goes the other way. It probably does. These were the underhand rows. I just did them at 61 just because they were sets of 10. A lot of the accessories are pretty high reps, like even the box jumps are sets of 10, which I had more in the next workout, which I think I mentioned in the last video, but I'm treating stuff like this more like cardio than like actually trying to build strength. This is more strength building movement, of course, and so just trying to get a bit more of a pump than anything. I don't know if I did this different than the other time. I felt like I might have been like more leaned over than I was before. And there I tried to be athletic for a second, and that did not work. I tried to do an underhand clean. So my goal was to have it underhand, and then as I transitioned to like flip my hands around and catch it, I almost did a front flip over the bar because I am apparently not very coordinated with even 61 kilos. But I figured I'd leave that in because it was pretty funny. Thankfully, 61 kilos is probably not going to be the death of me, but I say that as, I'll do a strict press or something with it and then drop the bar on my face and not be able to lift anymore. But anywho, hopefully that doesn't happen. But that's going to be it for this one. I know it was a bit of a longer video than what is normal, but that's because the workout was a bit longer. I got a little bit behind with editing, but I'll be relatively caught up, or at least be in a normal pace after this video. Hopefully. I do get lazy because it is still summer break and I do like being lazy, so you do have to deal with my inherent laziness, but it is what it is. Anywho, I'll talk to y'all later. Hope you all have a great day, and peace.